Thai women can be pathological liars. She sent me sexy videos and pictures of herself. I told her, I'm sorry for you. You played and lost on all fronts. She eventually admitted that the picture was of her husband and their 7-year-old son. Today's story is about a man who decides to find himself a nice local Thai woman. Like many, they go on dating apps like Thaifriendly or Tinder to find these women who they can often potentially build something with. However, sometimes this can take a really dark turn, as you never know what kind of person you're getting involved with. Today's story is exactly like that, and is full of red flags that you should also keep in mind when dating online. So without spoiling too much, let's get into it. It starts with an internet relationship I had with a Thai woman named Oi that I met on a dating app. She was astonishing, 6 feet tall, 35 years old, and a really beautiful woman from Bangkok. She told me that she was recently divorced and looking for love with a foreigner because her sister had a foreigner and had been really happy living with him in Phuket. At that time, I was successful in the sports business. I had my own agency and was making big money. But overall, I had a lot of free time because I managed my own schedule. This allowed me to spend time with my family and girlfriends who were all over Europe. I was enjoying my life to the fullest. In the beginning, I wasn't interested in Oi, but I thought, why not? It might be interesting to have an exotic woman from Asia in my life, since I had never even spoken with a Thai woman before. We started talking every day. Her English was really good, and she connected with me through Skype for 20 minutes a day from her office, where she was a junior secretary in a medium-sized office in downtown Bangkok. She seemed to be very happy and well rested, even though she earned very little money with just an hour-long break for lunch. We talked about her life in Bangkok compared to mine in France, which I found very interesting. I began to learn a lot about the city and Thai people's attitude towards life. Our conversations continued like this for about a month and a half, covering general topics without getting too personal. Then one day, she told me she wanted to be close to me and asked me to come to Bangkok to meet her as soon as possible. I didn't expect this, but with my why not attitude, I agreed. I was surprised because I didn't know many personal details about her other than that she was a beautiful and charming 35-year-old woman. In the following days, I began to receive love messages and nice pictures of her, including some more suggestive ones. I thought to myself, she's an attractive woman, and I must give her more attention. Over the next month, we exchanged pictures and sweet messages talking about family, job, love, life, and about the past. That's when our real story and the real lies start to unfold. In the 3rd month, she was always in a good mood when we spoke, smiling, showing me her underwear whenever she was alone in her office. We joked and laughed like teenagers every day. She sent me sexy videos and pictures of herself at home before going to work. One day, her boss was absent, so she had more time to connect with me. I decided it was the right moment to find out what she really wanted from me and how she saw our future together. I wasn't disappointed by her charming way of speaking. She told me she wanted to settle down in Bangkok, far from the cheap area where she was living, and move in with me to an apartment in a nicer part of the city. Since she had no lease, she could leave her apartment quickly and move in with me within a day. I asked her if she could easily quit her job. She said yes, but planned to keep it until I arrived in Bangkok. It seemed like she wanted to quit her job and be supported, even though she never directly asked for money. We never talked about marriage, only about being a couple together. I told her I didn't want to be married now or ever. From that day on, she sent me addresses and pictures of nice condos to live in. But I wasn't convinced because they were still below my living standards. I decided to take matters into my own hand and began searching for a Bangkok real estate. Quickly, I found incredible penthouses in a prime area of Bangkok with a 7-figure price tag in euros. I thought, if I decided to live in Bangkok for a while, it should be in a place that I liked. Telling her that I found this place to live with her might have been a mistake. She knew all about this upscale area in Bangkok, and from that day on, she was head over heels and introduced me to her boss and all her secretaries she worked with, 4 short little Thai women who all looked alike. This sudden openness seemed very odd to me, because until now she had been hiding me from them. It seemed like they were all part of her scheme. I had a very strange feeling about it. So I decided to become an online private investigator to verify if she was telling the truth. I discovered that the company she worked for was real, and I could just contact it. Her job was genuine, but she was one of the lowest ranking employees in the office, just typing comments on account reports without understanding any of it. Without this modest job or any sponsorship, she would have likely ended up on the street like many others. On the positive side though, she seemed relatively clean, but things took a turn for the worse when it came to her personal life. I made one startling discovery after another and became increasingly frustrated. She had never mentioned anything about her ex-husband. When I finally asked about him, she told me that she had been divorced with him because he was poor, lazy, always drunk, and involved in too many money games. He wasn't husband material, she said. She never provided any proof of her divorce, but claimed she hadn't seen him for 3 years. I thought it was completely over with him. Perhaps she was truly free to be with me and stay by my side when I was in Bangkok. Then came a more serious alert. One day I received a video of her nude on the sofa at her home. While I was already familiar with her attractive body, I noticed a small picture on the wall showing a man and a little boy. I confronted her and she visibly seemed shocked and nervous. She eventually admitted that the picture was of her husband and their 7-year-old son. I was furious. I asked her why she hadn't mentioned her son before. She started crying and explained that her son lived with her husband's family in the suburbs of Bangkok. She also sent money monthly to help support him. This seemed strange and unusual, especially since such practices are not common in Europe. She said her dream was for her son to come live with us in our beautiful home, free from financial problems, and wanted to put him in a private school. I agreed to this goal as money wasn't an issue. She explained why she was so excited about me buying a large penthouse with multiple bedrooms and bathrooms. I told her not to lie to me anymore, and she promised to be truthful from then on. I was willing to give her another chance and planned on a trip to Thailand for our 4-month anniversary. I was excited and arranged my work schedule to be free for at least 3 weeks. Everything was going well until 15 days before my departure, when I didn't hear from her for 3 days. This was unusual and worrying, as it was the first time it happened in 4 months. I tried to reach her by phone and Skype, but there was no response. When I called her office, her new boss answered. I explained that I was just a friend from France and wanted to make sure she was okay. He told me she was on vacation for 3 days with her husband and would return to work the next day. I was speechless. She had not claimed to have seen or spoken to her husband for 3 years. When she returned, she told me she had been sick with a high fever and had been in bed for 3 days. However, she looked well rested and relaxed, as if she had just come back from a vacation. 2 days later, I confronted her with the truth, and she panicked and cried uncontrollably. She admitted she was still married and saw her husband once a month. They even had intimate encounters, and he took money from her for their son. This was a major red flag, but there was more to come. I decided to forgive her once more, but made it clear I wouldn't tolerate any more lies. It seemed she could never tell the truth. With 7 days left for my direct flight to Bangkok, I was having coffee one afternoon when I saw the final blow. I was scrolling through the dating site where we had met, and her profile was still active. I read through the comments and saw a Canadian guy communicating with her, discussing her needs and life. His story was very identical to mine. Same lies, same excuses. I decided to contact him through the site. We exchanged phone numbers and I called him in Canada. We found that our stories matched perfectly. She contacted him 1 week after she contacted me. We both agreed to cut ties with her. The Canadian guy was shocked and devastated during our conversation, and I felt more sympathy for him than for myself. At this point, I decided to end everything with her. Despite her beauty, I sent her a message explaining why I was done. The next morning, she reached out to me from her home for the first time in 4 months. Before this, she always said the connection at her home was poor and would only call me from her office. But now the home connection sounded perfect, and I could hear other noises in the background. Another lie. As usual, when caught, she started crying crocodile tears, insisting I was the one that she loved and she wanted me to come here at any cost. She told me I was hers, but when I mentioned the Canadian man, her other love, Her reaction was telling. Her face said it all. I told her, I'm sorry for you. You played and lost on all fronts. Then I cut off the connection forever. This is my only story with a Thai woman. Even though she wasn't a bar girl, just an ordinary Thai woman, it taught me a lot. It confirmed what I had heard from other stories shared on various channels. Thai women can be pathological liars. I'm not sure why. Perhaps a psychiatrist could explain it. They seem to be unable to tell the truth, often coming from a disruptive family. Their ex-husbands or ex-boyfriends usually still seem involved in their lives in some way. They hide their children until it seems you might be willing to take care of them. Sometimes they use their children to invoke pity and seek financial support. They also lie about their marital status. I was even considering relocating to Thailand for 6 months a year, buying an even more expensive penthouse, and spending money on her and her loved ones without a second thought. But such persuasive lies are too much to handle. If she had just been honest with me, she could have had everything she wanted. Instead, each lie grew bigger than the last. I didn't lose much in this affair, just the cost of a Paris to Bangkok flight that I didn't use. But it was a close call. The more I watch videos and hear stories, the more I suspect I might have been deceived by not just a Thai woman, but by a whole scheme involving Thai individuals. I sometimes think, if it had been a younger, inexperienced, seeking genuine love, like the Canadian guy who almost gave up everything for her, their life could have been ruined forever. I hope sharing my online experience helped others to be cautious about Thai women, especially those met through online sites. The end. Wow, that was a lot. Please guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of the story, and if you have any story of your own, the email is in the description and I would love to read one of your stories out on the channel as well. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing to this channel, and until next time, thank you for watching.